returning the dead to life. For a long time now I have been courting the love of my creatures who once apostatized from me, and it will take an endless time until I have regained the love of all, until all are united with me in bliss, until I have reached my goal, to be able to create and work with completely divinized beings in infinity. But just as long my opponent still offers me resistance, just as long it remains a fight between me and him. Because he voluntarily does not give up the resistance, but fights more and more furiously for the beings, which he threatens to lose. But this perpetual resistance is at the same time also power generation. Because life arises incessantly from the power flowing out of me, and where life arises, spiritual is already again wrested from death, and my opponent is powerless against this life. Because the fight between me and him consists in bringing back to life what his will let come to death, what his will deprived of life. And my will not stop to give life back to the dead again. And for this purpose an ever-exhausting power is at my disposal, while my opponent loses power with every revival to life. So I want to lead that, which once emanated from me as something being, to its true purpose. That it is constantly active in the positive sense, to work in love and inexpressible bliss. Because my opponent had opposed his plans to this original purpose, he wanted to prevent it from any activity according to my will, he wanted that it should serve him, that it should work contrary to me in order to invalidate me. And so he caused this beingness to reject my love power flowing to it. And he became guilty by his plan that beingness fell to death because it rejected the life-giving power. And the fight between me and him is always only to awaken this dead to life, what he wants to prevent, because every newly awakened life is his sure loss. But eternities will pass until everything dead is alive again. And eternities will therefore also the fight rage between me and him, between light and darkness, between good and evil. But once he will be defeated and likewise arise to life. But as long as the fight still lasts, as long as still a single soul is in his possession, so long he does not give up his resistance, because so long he believes in his delusion to still be powerful. For his fall to the depths has brought him the greatest darkness, his fall has taken all light from him, and this darkness of his always lets him think and act wrong. No light can be given to him, because it would only strengthen his resistance, it would deepen his hatred, and therefore he flees the light, because it causes him agony. You must know all this to understand what endless distance there is between this fallen original being and me, and why a premature return to me is impossible. But only impossible because his will is hard and unbending, because he himself is completely without life despite his being. Because life requires love power, which he completely lacks and which he does not let approach him in most violent resistance. That is why every being has to be wrested from him, he will never give it up voluntarily, no love, no matter how great, would manage to weaken his resistance. Because you always have to consider that love is divine and that my opponent opposes everything divine, exactly because he is my enemy who believes to be able to defeat me. You must know about this deluded line of thought to then also understand why there can be no premature return, no giving up of his resistance against me, and why only all strength must be used to put again into the state of life what has come to death through his fault. What requires eternities and therefore also eternities cannot be spoken of a change of will of my opponent. Only when everything spiritual has come to life and to light, he will be powerless and now start his way into the Father's house, and then he will also live in the light, in love and bliss. Amen.